Hello everyone, I'm Rohit here and I'm the author of this book, Decoding Human Psyche. Um, in this series of videos, I have started this this YouTube channel and this series of videos to give knowledge about what I have understood about human psyche. Uh, I want to give this particular knowledge to all those who are not able to read my book. So today in this video, I'm going to talk about the human ego. Now, this is a very difficult and a very deep topic, and um, I am going to explain in this video how you can understand the functioning of the human ego with the help of the concepts of the subconscious mind, which I have explained in this particular book. So I'm not the author of only this book. I'm also the author of this particular second book. So this is the first book which I'm talking about, the Decoding Human Psyche. This is the book in which there is a lot of psychological things, how your human psyche is there and what is the subconscious mind and how it affects our day-to-day life, how the beliefs form, and a lot of other things are mentioned in this. This is a very good book which everybody who is basically um, who wants to understand their own psyche or somebody else's psyche should read. So I am also the author of this particular book called as the Decoding Gravity, Time and Causality. It's basically a book on human, which is basically a book on physics. It describes a new theory of quantum gravity. Uh, some people who are listening to this are going to be physicists. So I will give some physics examples also in this particular. But basically this video is meant for understanding how the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, how these concepts can make us understand the human ego. Now the examples, I'm going to give a lot of examples in this particular video, but these examples may not be exactly the examples which the other typical psychology books give. So I'm going to give, it might be slightly different how you understand this human ego and concept of it. Um, I'm going to tell in this video. So this in the previous videos we have already discussed what is the conscious mind and what is the subconscious mind, and how the conscious mind is the conscious individual or the conscious entity sitting in our brain, and the body is like it's like a robot actually, just that it is carbon based, and this conscious mind or the conscious entity sitting here in the brain is the one which can manipulate the brain and give it um, orders. So it can basically control the mind, control the brain and the functions of neurons in the brain. And the conscious mind is the one who is experiencing everything, and the subconscious mind is the one which is in charge of the memory and also in charge of it can basically control the body and the conscious mind by putting impulses or urges into it. So the subconscious mind is much bigger than the conscious mind, and it's highly relevant. It's very important. So what is the subconscious mind? It is basically a reservoir of subconscious thoughts or tendencies. It's like a recorder, so it keeps recording things and it keeps putting it into the memory, and it keeps forming beliefs, what are called as sanskars. It's like an AI computer actually, or artificially intelligent computer. So it can keep putting urges into your mind, and it's like an autopilot for us. We also discussed how Patanjali Yoga Sutras say that there are in the subconscious mind or chitta, there are sanskars which are put into place. So these sanskars are basically beliefs. So like I should respect my parents, or I should not lie, or I should not cheat, or I should not um, I should not take away something forcibly from them. So these are beliefs. So these are sanskars basically. So these sanskars are put into our subconscious mind. They are stored in there because of all the actions which we choose to perform, or basically the events which are happening around us. So these sanskars can have the ability to put vritti into our subconscious, in our conscious mind, urges. So these urges are coming from where, or any thoughts which are coming into our conscious mind, they are coming from where? So they are being put by the subconscious mind. So if an urge comes, you have a option whether to repress the urge or whether to act on it. If you act on it, the urge is reinforced because the sanskar or the belief gets stronger in it. So that way, that's called as the sanskar vritti sanskar cycle of the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. It can also be alternatively placed as UAR cycle, or urge action reinforcement cycle. So we have discussed all this in the previous video. I'm not going to go into detail in this video, but if you are more interested in understanding all these things, it's better that you watch the previous video, that is in the video with in which I explained the subconscious mind, and also the follow-up video of that, the second video, in which I explained the significance of knowing the subconscious mind. So I recommend that you watch these two videos. So we also saw how the subconscious mind creates a map, and basically how the subconscious mind map uh, is a set of beliefs or ideologies basically. So these ideologies can be, diagrammatically represented like this QR code. This is basically a zoomed in image which is showing only a few, maybe um, six beliefs. But actually speaking, there are thousands and thousands, maybe millions of beliefs which we are having in our conscious, in our subconscious minds. They are stored basically. So different people have different beliefs. So some people have one same belief much more, and the still different person might have the same belief as much less. So in that sense, people have ideologies, and this basically the belief persona, uh, how what belief a person has in his subconscious mind. This belief persona is different for different individuals. It's almost like uh, a fingerprint or a DNA. So that is his the belief persona has the potential to keep changing slowly, slightly over a period of time. But the potential of changing it is much more in the younger age. As a person matures and becomes bigger, and the beliefs become more and more rigid. So it's very difficult to change that. For changing a belief, it needs low self-serving bias, and you need to be mindful, and you need to keep choosing the right ones and keep repressing the wrong ones. So wrong beliefs we have to repress. We also we have discussed already about the systems of Kinema, system 1 and system 2. So we saw that how the subconscious map of the subconscious mind is created by every event which is happening in our life. So if these subconscious beliefs are there, so these beliefs can put urges into our mind. So if you say yes to these urges, and you keep relying on the urges which are coming on from the subsystem, so basically, you for deriving any solution to a problem, if you are relying only on subconscious urges, then that's a system 1. But if you repress those urges from subconscious mind, and you think algorithmically, think multiple things together, and then you analyze, and so that is what is called as the intellect, or the system 2. But for the system 2, it has a lazy controller. So most of the inconsequential decisions we um, depend on the system 1, or the subconscious mind. So subconscious urges. So these are basically These are related to what is called as the reward center and the punishment center or anxiety center. There are three types of reward centers: short-term, medium-term, long-term reward center stimulation. We have just discussed all these things in much more detail in the subconscious video. So any impulses, so these beliefs basically inside can in the subconscious mind, stored in the subconscious mind, can pop out into the conscious mind and can generate anxiety or can generate short-term or medium-term or long-term pleasure or reward center. So now we come to the video which is today. So human ego. It's a very difficult concept to understand initially, and it's very confusing. But with subconscious mind and conscious mind, you can understand it much better. So it was discovered first by Sigmund Freud, which he basically suggested that the mind, there was nothing called as the subconscious mind in that term. He had suggested some terms called as unconscious mind, and there are some other authors which suggested the subconscious mind term. But the subconscious mind term is not basically used in our psychology. But anyhow, this Sigmund Freud, he suggested that there is probably in our mind there are probably three sections. One section is called as the id, the other section is superego, and the third section is the ego. So he did not understand what exactly they were, but he suggested that the id is the one which is having animal-like tendencies, and it wants to pursue pleasure, and superego is the one which is a more advanced one, and it wants to prevent pain basically. So it's basically aimed at how the society will function, how you should be good, what you should do, what you should not do, like that. That's a superego. And the id is the more animal instinct one, and the ego is the one who is in charge basically. So he has to, or he or she, the ego has to basically take a decision in favor of the superego or the id, depending on how the impulse is. So the Anna Freud, who's the daughter of Sigmund Freud, she in her book described the mechanisms of ego. So there are multiple defense mechanisms. We are not going to discuss all of them, but we are going to discuss a very select few of them and how they can be explained on the basis of subconscious mind. This is the main thing which we are discussing. We are not discussing only the ego defense mechanisms. We are going to discuss what is id, ego, superego, and what is basically in terms of the subconscious mind, and how these defense mechanisms can be explained. So now, Sigmund Freud said that there is something called as id, ego, and superego. So what is id? Id is basically from subconscious mind point of view. There are the id and the superego are basically two separate regions or parts of the subconscious mind, and the ego is basically the conscious individual or conscious entity which is sitting in that. But so these id and superego are basically beliefs. So id is basically I'll just have to give examples and explain how exactly it functions, id, superego, and ego. So there can be multiple examples actually. So let's say that we gave a typical example of id and superego, in which we discussed about pizza. So initially you have not eaten pizza, so you don't know what is pizza, but then your friend orders one and you eat and you like it, so you have developed this particular belief that I like pizza. So this id is there. So id is basically, its function is basically to pursue pleasure, short-term pleasure. So this id will tell, keep putting urges that I need more pizza, I want to eat more pizza, I want to eat more pizza. So this id wants us to pursue short-term happiness. Basically, it wants happiness. So it is basically the subconscious mind the region of subconscious mind which says that, this particular thing is, this particular activity is basically rewarding, so you have to keep doing that. I want more, I want more. It's like animal instinct. So this, it will keep putting impulses that, I want pizza. So superego is non-existent at this point of time, because you don't know what are the problems. But soon you start getting heart attack, or you start getting loose belly. Your belly starts increasing, or you start having an increased weight, or you start having hypertension and all that, for because of eating too much of pizza, so too much of cheese. So you go to the doctor, and your doctor says no cheese, and cheese will cause you problems. So you should stop eating pizza. So suddenly the superego starts coming. So superego is what, the region of the subconscious mind, which is uh, actually, ironically, it is, the main aim of it is to avoid future pain, but it itself can give rise to a lot of anxiety. So it can it can generate, or it can insert too many anxiety generating impulses. So it can keep causing anxiety. So it will, you first few times when you eat pizza, there was no superego. So the subconscious mind did not bother you. But as soon as you come home from the doctor's visit, you want pizza. So you order pizza, but then when eating, there is some guilt. Oh no, I should not have eaten pizza. I'll have some heart block, and I'll have heart attack and whatnot. So this subconscious fear or has now started developing. So this is called as superego, which was not there before, but now it has started. So the subconscious fear is there. So now these two contradictory impulses. So this, you have to, in your life, you have to identify these contradictory impulses. So there are many examples of such contradictory impulses. So pizza, I want pizza. I love pizza. This is one. I want to order pizza. This is one. This is id, and I should not eat pizza because it will lead to heart problems and diabetes and obesity and all that. Or my figure will go away, or my weight will increase. So these are all examples of superego. Now there are multiple other examples. So I would like to give some more examples. Like let's say that smoking. So initially you don't have any knowledge about what smoking is, but you do smoking, and then you feel hunk, you feel confident, and so you derive pleasure out of smoking. So more and more urges will come that I want more, one more cigarette, one more cigarette. So you start smoking chronically, but there is no superego yet, because you don't know what is wrong with it. Then you had some problem, and you visit the doctor, and the doctor says no, your smoking will lead to lung cancer. So the superego has started now. So the as soon as you start taking that, there are two contradictory impulses. Impulse one says that I want to smoke, I want more cigarettes, I want more cigarettes. The second impulse is saying no, you should not have cigarettes because your lungs will get damaged, you will get lung cancer and all that. So these two contradictory impulses are starting. Like that, multiple contradictory impulses can be there. From physics point of view, you are working on string theory, and you spend 10 years in it, and suddenly you start reading papers saying that string theory has 10 to the power 500, and there is a problem, and that it's not good, and people are leaving it, and people are going towards another. So now this ego, so this it says no, string theory is good, but superego is saying no, be cautious, it could be wrong, it could be wrong. So these are two contradictory impulses, saying that one thing saying you have done so much research on that, you have to continue with that. Superego is saying no, you have to think about it, you have to, what if it is wrong, and what if it gives you pain later. So that is what is id and superego as compared as far as physics is concerned. There are multiple examples even in physics also. I'm not going into detail of all of those. So what are the defense mechanisms of ego? Before you go to the defense mechanisms, you should understand what is tunnel vision. Let's say the tunnel vision. Yeah, so we'll take the smoking example. So what about if we give a cigarette to a chimpanzee? What will happen? So he has no understanding of what is a cigarette and what is lung cancer and what is heart diseases and all that and lung emphysema and all. So he has no idea what are the problems. He also doesn't have any idea what are the good things about the cigarette. So that is what is called as tunnel vision. So his vision, his mind cannot see the pros and the cons of the cigarette. So maybe after some days he might start understanding how good it is. So the monkey might start understanding what are the good things about it. So it is like it starts deriving pleasure from doing that activity. But even then, the superego is non-existent in it. So superego is zero. So that's called as tunnel vision. Or you can say, in a way, it is basically complete ignorance. Complete ignorance. But there are other defense mechanisms which we are going to discuss basically in detail. So there is something called as ignorance or repression, something called as denial, something called as rationalization, something called as reaction formation, intellectualization, sublimation, and cognitive dissonance. This cognitive dissonance is not actually a ego defense mechanism, but we are still going to discuss it. So how we are going to say, so this id and superego are basically what? These are basically urges or impulses which are coming from into the conscious mind, which have been put by the subconscious mind. So if the id is very fat and there is no superego, then the need for doing that particular activity, questionable activity, is very high. But there's no concept that this particular activity is going to cause some harm to you in the future. So there's no concept of that. So there's no superego now in this. So this impulses that this activity gives pleasure is high. So what will you do? You will keep doing that activity because you don't know what are the ill effects of that activity. There are multiple hundreds and thousands of examples. So as you slowly start understanding what are the dangers of continuing to do that activity, and you slowly start developing that superego. Superego is developing, but it's very small. So a typical example of climate change or trees biodiversity crisis can be given here. Let's say that initially you were not at all aware of what is climate change and what is the carbon footprint and all. And so you were utilizing carbon-based, petrol and gas and all. And you are burning sort of fossil fuels, and you're driving the car and driving all that is good. But suddenly what happens is when the small superego started coming, that what happens is the carbon which we are releasing is causing climate change, so it's not good, so you should not do it. So the superego started coming. Now what to do? So this the urge to utilize fossil fuels is very high, but superego is small basically, so it's just starting. So what you can do, the conscious mind might start thinking, it's there. I mean, there's not much, nothing. It's not there. It's not there. So you can just keep repressing the superego and keep doing what it says. So it is saying you can't carry on fossil fuels. The superego is saying no, you should not. You think about it. it's bad, it's dangerous for you in the future. So because the id is small, the superego, so the id is big and the superego is small. So if superego is small, it can be repressed. So that's called as repression or denial. You can just plain deny it. No, 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 the superego is saying the wrong thing. So this urge is wrong actually. So there's no such thing as climate change. Like that, denial can be for many things actually. Let's say there's one theory basically which you are working on, and that theory, your fat id is like, this theory is right, this theory is right, this theory is right, and suddenly that there's some thing which pops out that yes, super ego starts coming, that continuing this theory may be a bad thing, bad career choice for you. Just think about it. You don't it could be the wrong theory, so it may have no future in the this thing. So you think about it, the super ego has started coming. But initial this thing of the conscious mind is no, there's nothing. The theory is very good. Nothing will happen to the string theory. This so the so the this particular judgment which is passed, that you deny that there is any problem in string theory. So this is the very early stage of the thing. So superego has just started developing. So you don't know for sure what are the problems in theory, but the id is very high. That the urge to continue that same line of thinking is very high, and superego or the fear that we may be wrong, or this theory may not be the ultimate theory, is less basically. Superego is small. So we'll keep repressing or denying, or keep denying that no, nothing is there. The same thing can be said about Fritz Zwicky. He started having some problems with velocity of clusters, galaxy clusters. So initially everybody said no, he is wrong. Like that, Copernicus or Galileo gave this particular theory. So everyone says no, denial, no, this is wrong. Whatever he's saying is wrong. So this the first instance is what? Denial. So first, any scientist is giving something which is opposite to your core belief. The first thing will be denying. No. The physics is good. There's no problem in physics. String theory is good. There's no problem in string theory. Like that, the first reaction to now there are problems with denial. Basically, denial. When a scientist is telling you that this particular theory may be wrong, or there might be something way deeper, or we might have to change the line of thinking, or that. So the first excuse would be no, you are wrong. This is right. Now here there is a bit of a associated Dunning-Kruger effect, and also there is an associated overconfidence bias. The climate change denier would the scientists keep saying that climate change is happening. There are so many lines of evidences of climate change, that CO2 is accumulating, and all these lines of evidences are there. No, it's not. Climate change is not there. There's no such thing as. So basically, what he is trying to say is that he knows he has an overconfidence bias. That is, he is overconfident, or that he believes that he knows much more than what he knows. So there is a bit of an overconfidence bias, and there is a bit of a Dunning-Kruger effect in people who keep on denying things. So like that, the initial stage of any crisis is basically denial. So a scientist would say that, biodiversity crisis is there. You should not do any habitat destruction. You should not chop off trees. Government says no, no, no. There's no biodiversity crisis in our India. There's no, you don't do about it. So this is basically denial of the fact that problem exists or crisis exists. So this even in a let's say Vera Rubin comes up with some galaxy clusters, galaxy star velocity measurements. First thing would be no, she's wrong. She's got it wrong. It's not there. But then later it realizes that the velocities are not coming in line with those predicted by Einstein's theory. Oh, what is happening? No, this can't be right. There must be something wrong. Same thing with Hubble constant. Two methods give two different Hubble constants. No, there must be something wrong. There must be some systemic error. So there's a denial, basically. Denial that there is error. But then slowly, more and more evidence gathers, and there is evidence which says that not only this galaxy, but other galaxies are also showing a flat rotation curve. And then they realize, oh, what is that? So then that superego has grown up now. So denial can no longer suppress the superego. Denial can no longer suppress the anxious urges which are given by the superego. That no, there's something grossly wrong with Einstein's theory of relativity. No, how can it be wrong? So then you put dark matter into it, or you put modified gravity into it. So like that, the first instance is basically denial, but basically denial you can do only with Dunning-Kruger. So you have two options basically. So if there is a problem, there are two options which your mind might have. One option is that you accept that, yeah, maybe it can be, but we are not having enough evidence, or we are not having enough knowledge. So it's better that we increase the knowledge. So this is one more assertive way of thinking in that terms, if some crisis develops. But the other way is what? Deny it, keep denying. No, it's not there. It's not there. There's no problem. You are creating a problem, but there's no problem. That attitude is called as denial, which is a bad thing actually. So because it is basically here you are assuming that you know everything and that you are you know enough to conclude, which is not true. So you're not having enough knowledge to conclude, but still you keep denying that no climate change exists, or no crisis in physics exists, so there's no need for modifying gravity or additional matter. So initially, when a scientist comes up with some crisis or some some lab finding which says that one theory is wrong, the first this thing is denial, which is one has to be cautious about. So you have to get rid of denial. So there are so many examples, as I said. So galaxy clusters, one example. Then climate change, biodiversity, habitat destruction, another example. So there are so many examples of when people kept on denying even string theory. So the first thing is string theory is perfect. There's no problem. It is soon going to be the theory of everything. So denial of the problem of 10 to the power 500 manifolds. So before that number of manifolds were described, before that there was a denial that there's no problem with string theory. Then slowly, as more and more evidence accumulated, they realized that maybe string theory may have some problems. So initial was denial. Later, what happens is that the superego is small, but it slightly starts becoming bigger and bigger, and the id is basically still fat. that it is the mind still wants to stick to more. It wants more and more pleasure, basically. So coming to this climate change example, you know, you started slowly realizing that yes, climate change is there. It's slightly a bit of a problem, and it can be a problem, but still, we want economy. We won't want to suddenly break the spine of the economy by dismantling the fossil fuel infrastructure completely. So there, that fact, it is there. So they want to continue having pleasure because of for using fossil fuels. So how to do? So you rationalize saying that what will happen to the people who are employed? What will happen to those who's investing, who investor money, whose money is being invested in it, and all that. These are rationalizations of wrongdoing. So you want to keep using coal, or you want to keep using fossil fuels. Why? Because you're rationalizing. You know that it is wrong, but you're rationalizing, saying that what will happen to the money, what will happen to the employees of the coal and fossil fuel industry, all that. So these are all basically excuses which are giving because you want to continue using because your subconscious impulse is saying no, I want to use cheap electricity. I want to have cheap fuel. I don't care about the environment. So the fact is, it is still fact. So you want more and more uh, cheap stuff, and you don't want to look into that ego, the superego, what is telling. So the concerns of the superego are not addressed. Basically, you shut down the superego because it's small. That impulse, this superego impulse is small, and the id impulse is for pleasure is more. So you shut off the superego by explaining it that um, well, giving some excuse that yes, we are doing it not for that, but for uh, saving the employees or saving the money invested in fossil fuel or saving the economy and all. So like that rationalization. Uh, the typical example in physics is what? Yeah, there is some problem in string theory. Yeah, but yeah, we should continue thinking in that line because it has given rise to a lot of good mathematics. So still, you need to continue in the same line. I think that is what rationalization means. What you now started slowly understanding what is the problem with string theory, but still, you want to continue thinking in that line, saying that that is rationalizing, continuing thinking in terms of string theory. Mm, although you know that there is some problem, gross problem in it, so you don't want to think in other directions. You want to still continue with the same path, still knowing that it will not lead to anything. So this is what is called as rationalization. Government keeps rationalizing cutting of trees because if there is no road, how will you go from here to there? So you keep rationalizing chopping of trees in the name of economy. So they keep rationalizing habitat destruction in the name of spread of cities. Because how if the city doesn't spread, where will you? There will be housing crisis. So we can't. How will the real estate boom? That is important for our prestige. So you have to like that. People keep rationalizing things which are wrong, which are definitely wrong. Or rationalizing, so taste, basically you rationalize killing of animals because it's tastier, or you rationalize killing of animals because the animal agriculture industry, what will they do? The farmers are there. Farmers will starve to death. These are all the rationalizations of doing wrong thing, basically. So there are multiple examples. So there are basically two contrary urges. Um, a pregnant lady, a young girl who is pregnant, basically. So two contrary urges come. Oh, I am a mother. I should save my baby. I should be proud of my baby and all that. And I should contrary urge saying what will happen to your career, this, that. So these are contrary urges which are coming to the mind of a young pregnant woman. So which of the two, whether the superego is bigger or the id is bigger, it wants to get rid of that pregnancy, and the superego wants to say, you are a mother, you have some responsibilities, you should not get over it, like that. So what will the person do? Either deny it, no, 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 this is not my, there is no superego in that. That is what, I'm not the mother, this is not this is a parasite, this is not, this is just a clump of cells, I'm no mother yet. Euphemism starts. So it's like basically denial that I have any responsibility. Then slowly, as more and more it starts that yes, fetus has some this, then it is still fat. It still wants to get rid of that, but ego is, so they rationalize that what will happen to the career. This is there. I have no job. My husband has no job. So it's better that I get. So this is what rationalization. What the person is rationalizing something which is wrong, but you still want to pacify this internal urges, because if you have multiple bad urges which keep creating anxiety, that you cannot function. So you have to have some way of pacifying them. So how you do that? By rationalizing. You shut off the superego and you keep doing what the id says. You shut off the superego by giving some rationalizing it. So it's bad actually. So you are basically doing something which is wrong, and you keep giving some rationalization. It's called. So these are the examples actually. So um, rationalizing cutting of trees, or rationalizing using of fossil fuels, or rationalizing uh, continued research on string theory, still knowing that there's nothing will happen. Why? Because mathematics you have to it's mathematics is good, and it has led to a lot of research in new mathematics and all. These are rationale which are given to continue research on string theory. When they know that present status of string theory, the string theory is, I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying that the present status of string theory is a bit this thing. You have to think in terms of some different direction. So you cannot think only in terms of the string theory is absolutely right. You have to have that humility to accept that there are some problems in string theory. There's something is wrong. So unless you do that, it won't happen. There are some other very interesting but not very relevant over here: reaction formation and intellectualization. Reaction formation is what, let's say you have two contradictory urges. One urge is like homosexual attraction. So a person has a homosexual attraction, but superego says, what will society say? Homosexuality is not good. It's a sin. This and that. So these are two different urges. So what should we do? So he wants to continue doing that homosexuality, but what he does is he is constantly worried that what will others think, what will others think. So this reaction formation, the typical thing is what will others think. So society, they will not accept. So to suppress this particular concern that what will others think, they will think that I am wrong. What will he start doing? He'll just start behaving the exact opposite, that he'll start preaching everywhere about how homosexuality is bad. So the urge is still there, and he is still continuing with that urge, positive pleasure of indulging in homosexuality. But he will start preaching to everyone else that homosexuality, how it is bad, how it is bad. Now, these are all just examples which I'm giving you. These are typical examples from a book which I'm giving you. So that is how subconscious urges are there. Two different kinds of urges. So one which is giving pleasure to you, but the other which is giving anxiety to you, constant anxiety. So if this particular anxiety, so if this pleasure urge you suppress and you listen to the anxiety urge of the superego, then this pleasure urge will start giving anxiety. So these two urges are contrary nature. Uh, if they house in your this thing, they will create conflict basically. So you have to resolve this conflict. So how you resolve this conflict? Who will resolve it? You have to give a conscious thought, and when you give a conscious thought, you use system two. So basically, this is intellect. So you are basically utilizing your intellect to pacify the urge. So this reaction formation is what you are pacifying um, the urge by pacifying your superego, saying that you see, I'm preaching so much against so people will not say anything. So people will say that yes, he's not having that wrong words. So that's what typical example of it is. Governments, they keep burning fossil fuels, and they keep they keep showing off that how we are doing very good thing about climate change. They'll put hundreds of thousands of, or rather millions of dollars into publicity of how government is aware of being of climate change, and they will focus on solar and solar everywhere, solar, but the increasing coal still continues, the increasing fossil fuel still continues. So the id is still there, and you want to keep doing, getting pleasure out of it, but you just do want to shut up the other people who are saying that, "Arey, you are doing this, you are doing that." So you want to shut them up. So you keep doing contrary to what your id is saying. It's just preaching basically. You're not actually doing something. So you're not repressing the id and doing what your superego is saying. What superego is saying is the right thing, but you cannot suppress the id. So that is what reaction formation. Intellectualization is what you have a lot of anxiety because you are doing the wrong thing. So what you do is to suppress the anxiety by shutting off the emotional component of it, and just keep intellectualizing in it. So you keep showing to everyone that how intellectually our discussions are. So like that, in climate, you keep attending big conferences, you keep hosting big conferences, and keep saying to everyone that see how big climate change conferences we are holding. But ultimately, what the governments will keep doing the same thing. Whatever it is saying, you keep doing that. You keep utilizing fossil fuels, but you show to the world that how good intellectual. So that is why that is what to pacify the urge that what will others think, like that. Now there is another as the superego becomes bigger and bigger, it no longer you cannot suppress that urge, because that urge has become too big. So now the superego is too big. That what more and more climate events are happening, more and more um, events which are of floods or drought or you know are happening, and now you started realizing the crisis is not imaginary, it is real crisis. So what should we do? So the superego has become bigger now. The id is still fat though. It is still fat, and you want to keep doing consuming fossil fuel, or you want to keep consuming coal, or you want to keep chopping trees. But the superego is bigger now, so you cannot repress it, or you cannot rationalize doing bad thing now as well, because superego means that you can't keep denying, and you cannot keep. So what you do is you do substitution, or you do sublimation. Sublimation is what you utilize that for in a slightly different manner. Like there are some positive aspects in sublimation, and there are some negative aspects in substitution, basically. Like these are two contrary urges, basically. So instead of utilizing that urge, you focus on something else. Like there is a boss actually, and he is very bad, and he keeps shouting at you, and you hate him. There are two contrary urges. One urge, which is the id, which says that you kill him, you hit him, because I hate him. I really don't care who he is, but I hate him. That is the id urge. The superego urge says, no, he's your boss. How can you do that? How? No, constant anxiety between these two, constant conflict. I want to hit him. I don't want to hit him. I don't. So what you do is that just to you substitute the boss to someone else. So instead of shouting at the boss, or instead of hitting the boss, you hit some another victim who is basically who cannot retaliate. Like if you hit the boss will retaliate, and he'll hit you, or rather he'll throw you out of the job. You'll lose the job and everything. But there is another victim which cannot retaliate, or like your spouse, or your kids, or your pets. They cannot retaliate back if you hit them. So your anger, instead of going towards the primary source, it will go to the secondary people. So that is called as substitution. So you are basically substituting. What about sublimation? Sublimation is a positive type of this thing. So superego is saying that you do something, some action needs to be taken. So you need to do something about the fossil fuel industry. So the ideal thing would be to completely stop it. So that is not possible. So whatever the superego is saying, you cannot do that completely. So what else to do? So convince the superego by doing something less, actually. That's called as sublimation. So like that, let's say you have the fat id, that is, you want to drive a petrol car. So you want to keep driving the petrol car because of cheap fuel. But you have a lot of superego saying that you should reduce your carbon footprint, and your climate change is happening. That bad subconscious feeling is the urge is coming. So you suppress that urge by saying that what I'll just grow some veggies in my balcony, or maybe I'll plant some trees, or let's say I will instead of buying a bigger car, I'll drive a smaller car, or I'll drive a more fuel efficient car. You are still basically driving a fossil fuel car. Like the same thing with flying. Basically, instead of so this the actual thing is what you completely stop flying. But instead of that, what you will do is you will maybe reduce the flying, and substitute it with some another thing like that. So this substitution and sublimation are sometimes positive and sometimes they are negative, but many times they are positive. So you are basically listening to the superego, or what your superego is trying to tell you. You cannot completely pacify the superego without listening to the superego, but you cannot even completely go to suppress the id. So what you do is you derive a middle path. Middle path is what is called as sublimation or substitution. So the superego, you are partially accepting what superego is saying, like uh, pizza and heart diseases basically. So you want to eat pizza, that urge is still there. I like pizza, I like pizza, I like cheese, I like chicken, I like non-vegetarian food. But your cardiologist is saying no, you should not eat oily food, no cheese, no pizza, no chicken, no non-vegetarian food. So these two are completely different urges. Never what to do. So you will basically not call for pizza every day, maybe once in a month, once in a week, like that you will eat. So at least the id is satisfied, but it's basically uh, substitution of what actually you should do, that completely banning it, some substitution of that. Or else you order a pizza, but you order a vegan pizza, or you order a pizza with more veggies and less non-veg, order a vegetarian pizza rather than. So these are basically substitutions or sublimations of what actually the id is trying to tell you. So you cannot completely give up id, but you cannot completely suppress the superego also. So that's what is sublimation. What is cognitive dissonance? When you, it's beyond you. Superego is keeping on pestering you to do something about it, to do something about it. But it also wants its pleasure. So these two contradictory urges keep remaining in your brain, but you cannot do anything about it. That is called as cognitive dissonance. So there's constant conflict. Let's say you are a climate scientist and you know that you want to reduce your carbon footprint and you should not fly, but your work keeps telling you, yeah, you have to go and attend this conference, then you have to attend this other second conference, then third one. So they keep flying everywhere. So so you cannot prevent that as well. So the subconscious impulse is saying you are doing a wrong thing by keeping on flying, and your subconscious impulse, second subconscious impulse is saying yes, you have to attend this conference, it's very important so like that the id is saying that you should attend the conference, the superego is saying no, you should not attend, you should reduce your carbon footprint. So these are two impulses, and the climate scientist just cannot do anything about that. He has to attend, but he has to also, he knows that it's wrong. That's what will cause what? Cause constant anxiety. So similarly, there are millions of examples like that, where either you can do something, or you can keep repressing, or you can rationalize the bad thing. You can keep doing the bad thing, but rationalize somehow. Or you can substitute it somehow. Or then the ideal thing would be what? To reduce the id, suppress the id, and do what the superego is trying to tell you. Superego is basically this is the ideal position basically, because what the superego is trying to tell is the right thing. The small id is trying to tell is basically pleasure, pursuit of pleasure. So ideal thing is what? To reduce this id as much as possible and to increase the superego as much as possible. Now this superego is basically directly proportional to knowledge. So if you are absolutely ignorant about it, there is no knowledge at all about climate change, then you will keep ignoring or repressing or denying. But as the climate change knowledge about climate change keeps increasing, the superego keeps increasing. So if you have a good amount of knowledge, your superego is bigger. But if you have very little knowledge about climate change, then your superego is very small. So your id will be big, but superego will be small. So you will keep using the smaller, that is the denial and ignorance and repression, all those uh, compensatory mechanisms. So ideal situation is what? You keep increasing your knowledge and you keep increasing your superego, and then you also reduce your id. Now these are all theoretical. Means psychology is extremely complicated and not everything fits here or there, but these are idealized examples to just to understand. So this was basically the superego and id, and how it can how you can understand them with the help of subconscious mind. um, I suggest that you subscribe to this channel, and you also view all the other psychology related videos and videos on subconscious mind and cognitive biases and all. And let's hope that we'll meet again. Thank you for your attention. Thank you. Bye bye. See you. Have a nice day.